Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Monroe. I'm the owner and personal fitness trainer of Monroe Real Training LLC. Monroe Real Training LLC became an LLC in 2008, and I'm proud to say that January 2010 I started doing this business. It's a personal fitness training business. We specialize in going to a person's home and to their office, and or either or. So we go to their home or office, and we also sell functional fitness equipment. So January 2011, it'll be 1-year anniversary. Just a quick synapse real quick of how my little journey as far as I came here. I also went to University, Wisconsin here in Madison. Kinesiology undergrad degree with teaching certification in physical and health education. I taught first in Monona Grove High School, did that for a while, managed a health club for a little while, and I even worked for a county, Sauk County. I was a nutrition and prevention specialist. Then I ended up owning my own business. So I can tell you a little bit more about that later on if you have questions, but that's kind of just the basic brief background from how I ended up getting to where I'm at.
Yes, and I'm Jeremy Eisensee. I am a sports nutritionist with the athletic department here on campus. I as well went to school here. I didn't know what I wanted to be at first when I showed up. Knew I wanted to do something science related, some kind of health related. Ended up finding about kinesiology and dietetics both. So I ended up doing a double degree, did both things to get the nutrition experience as well as the exercise experience. And then while I was a student, I ended up getting some experience with the athletic department, working with some of the athletes with some nutrition things that we're doing, and ended up getting a job eventually, working for the sports medicine area with the athletic department, where we did a lot of counseling with the athletes, planning the meals, things like that, and have since picked up coordinating a lot of the meal planning, working with our chefs, and doing a lot of things with helping them plan all the foods that we serve the athletes, and we've also started doing some cooking classes as well. So that's kind of the background of where I'm at right now. And I guess we'll kind of go back and forth with the questions that we've been presented to answer for you guys.
How does your work connect with kinesiology? Well, obviously, I'm a personal fitness trainer, so it correlates directly to that because it's with physical activity all the time. That's what we do. From our target market are baby boomers and older active adults. However, we'll work with high school athletes and anywhere from functional fitness training, explosive movements, balance, anything that's integrated as far as movement and posture. So all of that as far as fitness, to get someone to move faster from point A to point B, maybe to lift more, feel more positive about themselves, but it's all fitness related. So, thanks.
All right, and then with me, obviously, what our primary goal is we're working with the athletes all the time to make sure we're looking out for their health and performance benefits. So we're just trying to fuel their bodies as effectively as possible to make sure they're meeting not just their athletic goals, but academic goals as well. So that's how we're tying it, obviously, to performance. Obviously, to perform well, we need to fuel their bodies well to get them performing optimally, for all their practices as well as their competitions. To make sure that everything we're doing throughout the week helps them build up the way they need to go and perform as effectively as possible, so everyone as spectators can watch and hopefully they win. Like hopefully we win at Purdue this weekend in football. So.
What are the personal characteristics, values, and skills that you possess that have helped you become successful in this field? Well, characteristics, there are actually two categories. One is a business owner. Bottom line is you need to have, if you decide to ever become a business owner, for me personally, an entrepreneurial personality. What does that mean exactly? Well, it means that you need to be able to have the drive to become a business owner. It's entirely okay to work for someone and have a great paycheck. That's okay. But there came a point where I decided that I wanted to be able to do it on my own and become my own boss. So that's very, very important if you ever decide to go that route. And I think that the passion going forward, it really helped me become a business owner. So having that entrepreneurial personality. As a personal fitness trainer, there are many different things you could do with this degree. So it's really important to have the characteristic of the passion to work out yourself. If you show up and you're going to work with someone and you do not like to work out and you just want to draw the paycheck, it's going to show, and you're not going to motivate them. They're not going to want to move, and the game is pretty much over. So you need to be passionate about working out. You also need to be passionate to help others achieve their goals. Can't be all about you, and if you're talking during a 1-hour session about how great you're doing and how much your biceps are improving or how better your balance is, that you can't fall, it's not going to be very interesting. So you want to be able to help people achieve their goals. So that's another very important characteristic. Skills, skill set, understand the exercise progression and adaptation. Not everybody, that's the best part about what I do. It's not everybody's alike. Just like none of you in here would probably do the exact same fitness program. You probably could, but everybody's at a different fitness level and different routines. So you need to understand exercise progression. Skills, it's very important to have a certification, just the basic background of the certification and knowledge and so forth. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but there are some certifications. I'm just going to have you write these down if you're curious. My personal certification is through the American Council on Exercise, also referred to as ACE. Some other important ones. What health club managers and business owners look for these days are what's referred to as the National Commission on Certifying Agencies, NCCA, because there's approximately 275 plus personal training certifications. So it's very important to look for NCC accredited certifications. So ACE, ISSA, American College on Sports Medicine, National Strength and Conditioning Association, and Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialists. So those are certifications that are important to have in addition to the skills and characteristics. And not to mention first aid, CPR, and AED. That's needed to acquire the certifications. So that's the beginning skill set.
Yeah, in terms of a lot of the personal characteristics, I would agree with Kevin on a lot of those. Just practicing what you preach. You don't want to be telling the clientele you're working with, no matter who it is, to do, whether it's working out, telling them what to eat, how to do everything, and be completely doing something the opposite that's obviously not good and healthy for you. So I definitely support that decision right there. On top of that, one thing I run into a lot with other nutrition people is when you're trying to help teach somebody what to eat, no matter what it is, actually helping them learn how to do it. A lot of times in the dietitian type area, it's giving them numbers. You need this many grams of protein, this many grams of carbohydrate, eat these foods to boost your iron, whatever it is. But the problem is, a lot of times, no one's doing anything to help it make it be applicable to the world of the athlete or the client, whatever it might be, in terms of how to do it effectively and easily. So we actually started up a program recently, this whole cooking nutrition seminar thing we started doing with some of our teams. We haven't got all the teams through yet, but we're working on that. But we're trying to bring it to their world where it's, people your age, obviously, just, getting into the college environment. A lot of people don't have the experience with cooking, shopping, making food, whatever it might be. So we relate everything and make it as easy as possible. And that message goes across anything you're doing, just making it an easily relatable message so that they can understand and make it useful to them so that it's not just informational, but something that can be actually applied to their world on a daily basis. So kind of the themework we took is we try to be coaches of nutrition as opposed to just being a dietitian talking at you or something like that. So yes, being able to relate to the audience that you're working with, do channel with that whenever possible. On top of that, one thing I've always noticed is, like I said, I did a degree with Kines and a degree with dietetics. There wasn't any classes on sports nutrition here, and in fact, I still don't think there is. So you have to be very self-motivated to learn as much as you can all the time. Obviously, that's going to be in any field, but like I said, there's not a class to help you learn the very specifics of what's going on in sports nutrition. So it's always continually reading periodicals, journals, things like that. Different people in the field, athletes themselves, coaches, finding out what everyone's interested in, what they want to learn, and then make sure you know those things and you can teach them so that you can make everything, once again, applicable to your population. So those are the main things that stick out that I can think of right off.
All right. We briefly went over this, so this portion will probably be, this might be a little bit quicker, but how did you end up working in this field, and describe your professional journey? So we both, when we introduced ourselves, we did that. So I'm going to just elaborate on that just a little bit more. How is it that I actually became an owner of a business, Monroe Real Training, and decide to do the target market and all the choices that I chose? All of my background after leaving UW, it all helped as far as me becoming a business owner. Every bit of it. The being a health and PE teacher, managing a health club, my managed skill set, every portion of it. Why did I end up choosing this route? Especially when people say these days, in this economy, right? Why would he do something like that? Well, it was the passion and choosing to be an entrepreneur, and I just believed in myself. And quite honestly, with having that background, everyone was always coming up to me all the time. If any of you have ever decided, and you work out quite a bit, if your friends come up to you and ask you fitness questions all the time. Well, when I was a manager of a health club, I would always tell people, come out to the health club. It wasn't convenient for them. So I caught on that possibly I could put together a business model that if I can make it convenient and eliminate the excuses, because all of us here, students for Intro to Kines and presenting, the assumption is we enjoy fitness, we love moving. But you know that's not always the case with most people. They do make excuses. So I came up with a business plan to where I could go to the person. And it's a little bit outside the box, it's non-traditional, but going to a person. And that's how I came up with the idea and have decided to go with the route that I have. So.
Yeah, and I guess to elaborate a little bit more, obviously I told you all about the academic side, you know, trying to figure out what I want to do. I got hired with the athletic department after I graduated, fortunately. Got to stay on campus here. I was always involved in athletics growing up, so it's ideally the area I wanted to work in. I was able to combine both degrees that I got, make them really applicable, use them, and help out the athletes and everything. So as I was saying, I worked in the sports medicine area first. I've had two different positions, kind of, and expanded to the second one. But a lot of what we do are one-on-one nutritional counseling, team presentations on various topics, whether it's something like recovery, nutrition, weight loss, weight gain, whatever it might be, something like that. Planning out all the meals that we serve to the athletes that get the meals. Figuring out a nutritional education program along with it. Worked with all of our chefs to analyze recipes, for example. Another cool part is I've got more involved on the food side of things, cooking and whatnot like that. So I work with the chefs hand in hand with developing new recipes that are healthier for the athletes, that meet all the recovery goals that we're looking at, and any other nutritional components of the food we're looking to emphasize at different times during the week and different times during the season, depending on what the training's like or what the competitions are going to be. So that's got to be a very interesting part. And other than that, there's been other odd things that I've done actually on the way. Like, for example, I traveled before the football team would go places, set up stuff at the hotels and the stadiums. On top of that, working with Coca-Cola and designing some of the beverage type stuff that we use. So it's been a very interesting journey so far, and hopefully we'll keep doing more things. It's pretty cool. So.
Cool. What are the professional and educational requirements for a career in this field? Well, the educational requirements, just to touch upon again, obviously I have a kinesiology background with a teaching certification in physical and health education. Is it needed? Here's the good news. If you decide you want to be a personal fitness trainer, it might be something just for a nice skill set to have. They have an excellent program here for students through Lori Devine, and you can check that out at the SURF. You can do it part-time. You don't have to have the college degree. However, if you want to go on into management, a full-time position, business owner like myself, there are other opportunities I'll talk about later. That is a requirement to have that college degree. But the certification is the key that you can get yourself started, have experience, nice pay, great rewards. Other knowledgeable areas. This is something in addition to the exercise, progression, and adaptation. It's very, very important, obviously, to have the background for exercise and the movement. However, you need to be able to read people and have some business skills. And this is even working at the basic level within the health club. If you're not able to read people, if you're not able to interact and have the interpersonal skills, good talking, good speaking, good writing, being able to read people, street smarts, it's going to be difficult to take you a long ways. And what I mean by that, sometimes the perception, I've had friends that when you exit a program, that if you choose to be a personal trainer, that sometimes we're going to go on to become the trainers of the stars or for Oprah Winfrey. It doesn't necessarily end up happening that way. So it's good to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and you might have to, like I have, I've taken additional courses in marketing, sales, different things to help adapt to the areas that I knew that were weaker, because my strong points were actually in exercise science and movement. So.
Gotcha. And then, yeah, getting back to professional educational requirements, I would say obviously either just staying on the kinesiology side or just the nutrition side. One by themselves isn't going to, I don't think, make somebody super qualified to handle the sports nutrition side of things. So if you're looking obviously at kines, that's why you're here obviously. If you want to get into the nutrition side of things, you'd obviously either be looking at getting a degree with nutrition as well, or a master's in that area, or if you do get a master's, get some emphasis in nutrition as well, just so you get a lot of the expertise and background that you need in terms of just the basic nutrition requirements of the human body, and learning some things in terms of performance as well. Also on the dietetic side of things, they have certifications. When you get more advanced, it's more for the hospital clinical situation, but there is registered dietitians as well. So that's an option that's out there. They're starting to finally get some certifications out there for sports nutritionists. They didn't exist before. So that's actually coming up right now in the field, just in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years actually. On top of that, yeah, that's primarily what you're looking at in terms of the educational requirements. Obviously, like I said, I work in the collegiate environment, but there's also different areas. You can work for a health club or a gym where they're looking at somebody nutrition-wise. Most of the professional teams, whether it's the NBA, NFL, something like that, that's usually done on a consulting basis. And as it turns out, it's always like somebody in that city. Like if it's Denver, there's a lady that she does like the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Rockies and all that. So usually professional teams do not have somebody on staff that takes care of it full time, and that's on a consulting basis. But there's been a big push now in the last 5 years especially, once again, where a lot of the top colleges and universities across the country do have somebody, at least, maybe not full time, but at least part time, where it's on staff, somebody who can work with the athletes continuously, working on various nutrition programs with their athletes. So that's where that's going.
What are the major contributions to society that work in this field? Well, I guess the major one that comes to my mind for personal fitness training is to help people have a better quality of life. True, every other day people are saying, oh, this economy and how are we going to be able to afford this and how are we going to be able to afford that? One thing that comes to my mind right away is how can we not afford prevention? How can we not be able to take care of ourselves? Something that's so simple. So that really makes it very rewarding for me is I help people have a better quality of life. And that doesn't, of course, our target market, baby boomers and older active adults, that's just a target that we chose, and it's smart to do that if you're getting into business. But we work with high school athletes, we work with people all ages. So better quality of life, and that quality of life really depends on the person. And obviously, if a person is 30, 35, 40, they're probably not looking at how many medications they're going to be taking when they're 60, 70, and 80, like possibly your grandparents' age. But it really does come down to a big deal when you go to get out of the bed in the morning and you're much more stiffer than you should be, arthritic, medications, 19 meds, and you're not sure of which one you're taking and what it's for. So when I can say that I'm helping people improve their quality of life, it makes me pretty happy. So that's the contribution.
I guess I completely agree with that, and that's ideally where we're going as well. When I first read the question, I was almost thinking, contribution to society. I'm like, oh, I'm just helping the University of Wisconsin perform better. Hopefully I'm making a lot of fans happy or something like that. But then relating the question back to everybody, obviously, it is, creating that healthy lifestyle, not just with athletes, but, everyone out there, making sure people are eating well, helping them meet their goals there, become active, and do everything they need to be a healthy person. So on top of that, one thing we're doing in our field too right now is there's kind of more of a push trying to get away from supplements as much and more whole food nutrition. How many people are familiar with Michael Pollan and the books he's written? Good portion of you. So, it's really simple stuff he's talking about, and that's where a lot of the push with nutrition is going now. So we're getting away from, things with hormones in it, food-like substances that, contain a lot of chemicals. Like one of our things that we're teaching our athletes now, if you look at a nutrition label in the ingredient list, and it says something along the lines of, like 72 ingredients for like a little cereal box, probably ain't good for you. If you can't pronounce the things that are in there, not good for you. So we're telling, athletes, for example, look for things with just 5 ingredients in them, simple things. That's kind of where the field's going right now, just to make sure people are eating well. So, there we go. Cool.
Let's see. What's going on in the field that interests you? Let's see. The great thing about it, as far as fitness, it's always changing. It's always changing. There's so many different devices out there, mainly because infomercials are always trying to be recreative as far as knowing people are possibly not wanting to move. So there are many of those gadgets you can always depend upon. However, as far as opportunities and what's going on that excites me, as a business owner, I look at it as there's endless amount of opportunities. There's an endless stream and ocean of clients, people, friends to help. There always are, there always will be. I think my stepson, he's probably about approximately the same age as most of you. He's 21. One day I said to him, I said, gosh, how am I supposed to compete, little personal trainer, with all of these fast food restaurants? And Jeremy can probably agree with this. I get discouraged because I'm trying to help people move. However, if they're not applying the nutrition, obviously they go hand in hand. And my stepson, he just said to me, he looked me in the eye and he says, well, that's job security. So, if you decide to be a personal trainer, there's always going to be ways to help people. You could be, sky's the limit. You could be the next person of the DVDs of the newest P90X. You could make your own DVD. There's YouTube. There's sky's the limit. You could have your own LLC. It's hard to say what could possibly and potentially happen if you want to happen. You can work with kids. You can work with older adults. I worked with someone just prior to coming here today. She was 91. Now, between you and me, I used to think 91's old, and it is, but I'm not going to tell her that. She's still authoring books. I thought, wow, how cool is that? She asked me, there was a book I borrowed from her, and she asked me today if I brought it back, and I said, no, I forgot about that. I said, you remembered, didn't you? And she says, yes, I have a better memory than you. So, I mean, that's really rewarding. I'm helping her with her balance. She had a stroke about 10 years ago. So there's just many, many things. Sometimes the label, personal trainer, when I'm introduced to other people, depending on their label, title, people get caught up in the titles. It's really what opportunity you want to make of it, whatever you choose within this field. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, current trends for me right now that we're really looking at is the recovery nutrition side of things. There's a lot of research going on with, ratios of carbs to proteins, things like that, and how to help different types of athletes refuel, whether they're endurance athletes, power athletes, whatever it might be. So that's a really cool thing that we're looking at. And then, like I said, but to make it applicable back to the athlete, we're using all that stuff and trying to figure out the foods and the combinations of foods that work well and how athletes can make it themselves or how we can make it for them to make it really applicable. And like I said, this program that we've been doing like the last 6 months, we're doing like on a team-by-team basis by teaching basic sports nutrition concepts and recovery, how to take care of yourself, how to manage your day. I mean, like you guys, you got class and you got school commitments and got to take care of yourself all throughout the day. You're working out probably as well. So, just juggling all those things and making sure you're taking care of your body at the right times, doing the right things, not only to keep up any performance level your body might have, just making sure you're staying healthy on top of that as well. So, those are a lot of the current trends we're looking at and trying to teach to our athletes right now. And I don't know, that's the last of the questions we were given. So with the last 15 minutes, we'll take any questions that you guys may have.
The question was, how do I solicit business? Do I go around door to door? Do I have employees? Do I have direct mail campaigns? The answer to that is yes. It really comes down to if any of you ever heard of guerrilla marketing? I have taken some basic. It's handing out business cards. I handed out a couple of them before this started. Knocking on doors when I can, flyers. If I have an opportunity to give a presentation in front of 112 brilliant students, I'm going to take it. Putting my website out there and having a viral effect. I have a couple of YouTube videos demonstrating Lifeline USA equipment, and they're out on YouTube right now. So I do the direct marketing, the mailing. Advertising for me personally, it is okay, but it's all about the relationships, really. I'm on some social networks, and they're okay. They do work well, but there's nothing like the trust and the friendships and the word of mouth for me. That's how my business has been growing the best. Just add value. Once I get a customer, I just add value. It's like I read in a book one time. The book was called Book Yourself Solid. And the gentleman was referring to, he had a college friend. He says when he was in college, he loved to have mayo on his sandwich. And he would tell them, when he was at this restaurant, I want so much mayo it's going to make me sick, and then I want more. And that's how I add value. Is they think they're getting a personal fitness trainer. I research articles. I do above and beyond. I text them in between, yay, thumbs up, and email them. And they just think that I'm a crazy guy. And I am. But I go above and beyond my hourly rate because I understand the value of the dollar. So I'm hoping that they'll see the results, they'll feel the results, they'll tell all their friends, they'll tell everybody. This guy is the best thing since sliced bread. So it's kind of a little bit of the all above, but it's really the relationships.
It was what distinguishes athlete needs versus regular person. Primarily what we were looking at there is obviously whether if you're an athlete or not, you have just your basic caloric needs and basic needs of just breathing, thinking, everything like that, and walking around, whatever it is you might do. But athletically, on top of that, there's the training that goes into it, so it's meeting the calorie needs of the endurance component, strength component, whatever it might be. So it's fueling, making sure you're doing all the things properly right afterwards to make sure you get as refueled as properly and effectively so they can go out and perform the next day for that practice or competition. So it's really emphasizing the recovery windows right afterwards and after eating. On top of that, there's a lot more inflammation going on with just the activity that's going on. So making sure you're looking at some anti-inflammatory type foods are going to help and make sure you're covering all that. With female athletes, there always tends to be a lot of iron issues. So that's another area, making sure getting plenty of iron in a lot of the food sources they're doing. And those are the main ones that stick out right off. So.
I got one for Kevin.
Yes.
Can you talk about some big challenges you've had? It sounds like you deal with like older adults, and the challenges seem like they might be pretty huge in trying to get through the active or meet their goals.
Yes.
What kind of challenges?
Some challenge. What the question was? What are some challenges I might face, especially since I work with some older adults, just basically getting people moving. For me, it's when I go to show up. It doesn't matter if it's 5 o'clock in the morning or if it's 6 or 7 p.m. at night. Sometimes my days are fairly long. I may have 4 or 5 people, but each person I come to, my energy level, I make sure that I'm geared, I'm prepared, and I'm really, really excited and prepared because I know that their attitude might be, it's raining outside. I really want to move. So my passion, I'm upbeat, and we might not, I'm a little bit sneaky. I might not be just focusing on the exercise like drill instructor, even though I was in the Marines. But I don't tell them that on the first session, depending if unless they want to hear it. But yeah, just being really excited and letting them know that there's different ways. I bring stability balls and medicine balls and kettlebells, and everything's portable and functional. So we do a lot of things outside the box that are different, because if they want to go to the health club, I'll set them up a routine and they can use the cables and everything like that. But it's really having my energy at a higher level and say, now we're going to have some fun and change the pitches and just be a little crazy. And sometimes I'll get down and just be a little dorky and kind of have some jokes and just have a lot of fun with it. And like I said earlier, they think I'm a little bit crazy, but if I can get them to move a little bit and then they see a result and I got them to change, then I point it out to them right away. Point it out to them and tell them that it's possible, and then I try to get them forward to the next benchmark. So it's one day at a time.
That actually made me think of the challenge question. One that I actually have is with the age group I'm working with college athletes, everyone thinks, well, man, if they have this resource, wow, they're just going to go in. They want to make sure they're doing everything right to perform as effectively as possible all the time. The crazy thing is, I swear, only like 2% of athletes, college athletes, actually care about that. It's not till right when they reach their senior year, there's like 2 weeks left in their season, like, oh my gosh, I need to start eating right. This is my last competition. I need to make this count, because a lot of them obviously aren't going to the NFL. They're not going to the NBA. There's no advanced part to it. But they're just all of a sudden right at the end, they want to make everything happen in 2 weeks, where we've been trying to tell them for 4 years, this is what you need to do, or 5 years, whatever it is. So if you focus on these things, you're going to perform much better your whole career here. We want to teach you the whole time you're here. So fortunately, with the stuff that we're doing right now, it's kind of changed that a little bit. So hopefully we can continue to change the culture to make everyone more interested once they show up, and get rid of that challenge and find new ones. So next question.
You mentioned you work for football, but how many of the sports do you cover? And then also sort of tied in with that, how much of the athletes' eating are you responsible for? And how much is sort of outside your control?
Okay. Yeah, with the athletic department, we have 23 teams. So I have all different levels of involvement with each of them, and it kind of goes exactly with the question in terms of how much we can actually feed them. With NCAA rules, we can only actually feed athletes 1 time a day during the season. And just based on the way the economic situation is set up, there's only 6 teams that we feed on a regular basis, which are football, volleyball, both basketball teams and both hockey teams, primarily revenue-making sports. And then on top of that, the other sports, that's where a lot of these extra classes we're doing right now, we're hoping come into play, because all the other times throughout the day, when we're not feeding them the one meal, the teams that do get it, they have to take care of themselves all the other times. But all the other sports have to take care of themselves all the time. So it's just a matter of giving them the resources now that we don't think we're really apparent. We were kind of disjointed with different departments in the athletic department. Like right now, currently I work for our food and beverage area. There's a sports medicine area. There's our strength and conditioning staff. You know, there's coaches that give nutrition information. The big thing we've really emphasized this last year is working all together finally and giving a unified nutrition message, and then working together to give the same opportunities to all teams. So that's how we've been doing things. I know.
Can we ask them a question? Sure. All right. Let me see a raise of hands that think you might be interested in ever becoming a personal fitness trainer. All right. That's good. That's cool. Do most of you plan on going on and continuing and getting a degree in kinesiology? It's pretty good. It's tough in the beginning.
You know, there's a lot of interest in physical therapy, which
Okay.
sounds like a lot of what you're doing, particularly with the older adults,
Yes.
fairly closely related. So how
Yes.
do you interface with, they might be also going to physical therapists, and yet you're augmenting that or something?
Yes.
How's that?
Good question. In fact, one thing that I didn't touch upon, one of the students asked earlier, and that kind of ties into the marketing that I didn't mention. We specialize in going and helping everybody, going to them, but we also have an office within a chiropractic's office in Prairie du Sac called Cody Chiropractic. So I have that relationship with him, and there might be a referral back and forth from the patient. However, I also have a relationship from Chantel Hussman, and she's Sport and Spine Clinic in Sauk City, and she's former UW grad, master's physical therapy, and so I network back and forth. She knows what I do. When they're done with physical therapy, what do they need? They might need someone that she can rely on with post-rehab. So I'm actually really considered post-rehab, and I really walk the tightrope as far as what I'm able to do and what I don't. And because one, my insurance allows me, but I don't spell that out as far as what I can and cannot do. I just know if it's starting to get into an area, their shoulder, if it's an injury, 2 weeks or more, you need to go to the doctor. And then I might need a medical clearance. So that's part of when I initially see them too. Many times with the older adults, I might need a medical clearance, and that's where relationships with the physicians, physical therapists will join as well, because then they'll know whom I'm working with. So.
If each of you had one piece of advice to give to everyone here, what would you say? We only have 4 minutes left.
One piece of advice. I would say, and this, keep in mind, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I didn't think like this when I was 20. I'm 40, so keep in mind it's a 40-year-old saying this. Learn as much as you can while you're in college and exiting college, and then work for yourself. That's my piece of advice. And read. You might not want to read now. I can't tell. I read only what was required when it was school because you're overwhelmed, right? Every teacher believes that that's the only class you have. But, so I didn't do any other, not much other than magazines. I didn't do much other reading. But now I read all the time, at least a book a month. And it's always in my areas of weakness. So I read all the time and learn as much as you can. In case you want to, take notes. If you think you have a bad manager, then learn from the bad manager. You have a good manager, learn from the good manager, but you can curtail that to how someday you might not necessarily be the owner, but you might be the decision maker, and it's going to make you be a better person in general.
I would say stay versatile and keep an open mind, kind of going hand in hand. Like part of my job, for example, I didn't think I would ever want to deal with any part of food service. You know, getting food out, working with chefs, anything like that. The thought of it was like, it's like running a McDonald's, you know. But that's actually almost one of the most interesting parts of what I get to do now, especially playing with food, researching, and playing with recipes, trying to come up with new exciting things to either teach people to make or make for them. And on top of the staying versatile, like I said, the reason I did the 2 degrees that I did was to be very versatile. So I could work in the nutrition side, I could work on the exercise side of things, I could do both areas together. So those are the ones I recommend right off the top of my head. We got 2 more minutes if there's any more questions.
What are your hours?
For me, mine, it varies during the time of year. Summer's fortunately the time I get to lay back a little bit more, maybe work 30 hours a week. But when we hit August, when like football and both soccer teams and volleyball start up, school hasn't started yet, so that's the one time a year we actually feed them like 3-4 times a day. So I'm there trying to help educate, feed, and manage and coordinate everything. So those hours every day are like 12 hours a day, like 6 to 7 days a week at that time, and for a full month. And then during the season, like especially this fall semester, I'd say it's like 50 to 60, sometimes 70, depending on how many home games we have for football and basketball and hockey. There's a lot going on there. So I really try to take advantage of like the spring break, the winter break times when we don't have competitions, and the summertime for sure. So.
Yeah. My hours, 24/7. No, I'm just kidding. But no, my wife, she likes me to power down on Sundays. So, but other than that, I set my own hours. I mean, I can get up as early as I want, and I can train and work with people as late. So, really, it just depends on how early and how late I want to get up. And when I'm not actually working with someone, believe it or not, the actual work itself is the marketing, the follow-up, the what's next. So just depends, the flexibility and how much time you want to put into it. So.